Friday, we're talking in-depthly about the fixed income markets, and not just the fixed income market, but as well as the forex market. So we have a review of the market's performance for the first week of July, and what to expect in the second week of July. And we have Caleb Alimi, Chief Dealer with Providence Bank, to give us details about that. Thank you for joining us, Caleb.
My pleasure, Anita. Good afternoon.
Okay, so I know that there was the markets, particularly the fixed income market, it was able to sustain a bullish run in between. That's for the treasury bills as well as the bonds market. But give us some highlights of what really happened. Why do we see this bullish trend on the fixed income and the bonds on the treasury bills and the bonds markets?
Thank you very much, Anita. So what we're seeing in the fixed income markets is reduced supply. And that is what is leading to the run or to the bullish run that we're seeing. For example, in the treasury bill space, if we look at the auction, the primary auction in the month of May versus the primary auction in the month of June, we could see that in the month of May, the DMO offered and sold 1.2 trillion. But in the month of June, they sold only 612 billion. Right, and we also saw interest rates dropping from around 19.35 to around 18.8%. You know, what we've seen is a reduced supply. Also, we didn't have an auction this week. The auction, which should have ordinarily happened this week, has been, scheduled to happen next week. And so we're expecting that what we're seeing from the DMO is, a bit of appetite for less and less borrowing. That's why we're seeing demand, and the market has actually been awash with a bit of liquidity, and that's why we see all of those funds are chasing the few securities that are available. In the month of July so far, we've also seen the bullish run sustained in the secondary markets. We think that may continue, except barring what we see that the DMO will supply next week. For the treasury bill space, where we expect an auction, we have a maturity of around 300 billion. We think they should roll over all of that, but if they don't, if they issue, say, like 100 billion, then it will strengthen the bullish run. But if they issue like a 300 billion, then bullish run could sort of like taper off. And then in the bond space as well, we also saw reduced supply from the previous auction where they sold from the auction in May, where they sold, almost 300 billion, to the auction in June where they sold just 100 billion. So all of those just point to the fact that the DMO seems to be tapering down its borrowing appetite, and thus investors are scrambling for what were, formerly high yields, and then they're dragging down those yields. We also saw between the month of May and the month of June, the stop rates on the bonds markets for the longest tenors that were issued. We saw one move from 18.98 to 17.75, about 120 basis point down. And then another one moved from 19.85 to about 17.95, almost 200 basis points, drop there. And then, those yields have been strengthened further, or that run has been strengthened further in the secondary market on the back of the fact that there's just reduced supply. So we're looking up to the auction calendar for the rest of the quarter three and quarter four, really. We think that for the bond market, the DMO will probably continue to issue, say, like 100 billion, except there is a change in appetite, which, of course, we would come to know in the coming days. And for the treasury bills as well, we think they're going to, stay around the 200 to 300 billion auction size.
Okay, so now we've talked about the fixed income market. Let's talk about the foreign exchange market. We have it here, the CBN, the central bank's most recent quarterly statistical bulletin, that's the QSB, shows that the total foreign exchange inflows was up by about 70% quarter on quarter, 78% year to date, and that was for the fourth quarter of 2024 at about $27.7 billion. Now, so far this week, how has the forex market performed in terms of the inflows, the transactions there, and what's the sentiment, and then also the forex level? What are we expected to see for the foreign exchange, for the forex reserves?
Yeah, well, what we see from the FX market has been a large strengthening of the naira against the dollar. This time last month, the naira against the dollar was exchanging for around 1585. However, today, the naira is exchanging for dollar at 1530. So this week we've also seen it strengthening further from around 15.50 that we started the week to around 15.30, in the official market. Also, we're hearing that on the streets, there's also a lot of appreciation going on there. And that testament to that is also that, we're having a lot of FPIs, which you just said, the CBN publishing is in its statistical bulletin. You'd also see that impact in the stock market as well. If you saw the stock market report, you could see that there's a lot more foreign portfolio investors play in that market. So we're seeing a lot of influx of dollars come to chase our beautiful yields or our relatively high yields. And that's why the Naira is strengthening against the dollar. Will this continue? Well, um, as long as the yields remain still attractive, we think they'll continue to come in. What we've seen month on month is just about a 4% appreciation in the Naira against the dollar. We don't think it's enough for FPIs to begin to, exit, which means many of them came in around 15.70, between 15.50 to 15.70, and then the currency is now around 15.30. So it's not strong enough for them to begin to repatriate their funds. They want to benefit from the yields in the fixed income market. Also, they want to benefit from possible returns in the capital market. So we think the Naira may continue to strengthen or will stay around these rates. We're looking forward to it dropping to around 1,500. I think that'll be a very good level for the currency.
I just can't wait to see the Naira go maybe even below the 1,500 level because to some people they'll tell you that the Naira is still trading really, really low against the dollar. But thank you so much for that optimism on the Forex market as well as the fixed income market, Caleb.
Thank you for having me, Anita.